That was
Hi,
great.
everybody. We're laughing because I was like, we're going live. And we just sort of sat here in silence. And I realized, of course, I you hadn't pressed the button. I know there's also a bit of a lag time. So, anyway, you're all here. And by you all, right now, our guest, Genevieve Anderson, is here, but you're going to come join us. I know you will, whether you're watching us live on the Ladies Get Paid LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube channel, or after the fact. This is going to be a phenomenal conversation. First, let me introduce myself and then our guest here today. So, I'm Claire Wasserman, founder and author of Ladies Get Paid. We are an educational platform, global community, and a book all about helping women earn more and live better. And as part of that mission, I'd love to invite other women on who also do the same thing or something similar. And today we've got Genevieve Anderson, who's a financial wellness coach and also an investment specialist, investing coach. Before I get into her bio, I just want to give you all a heads up of what our conversation will be about. So we're going to talk through steps that you can take to become your own financial planner, so that you're really boosting your financial confidence and then ditching, financial anxiety. I think money is the number one source of anxiety in this country. So if you are nodding your head, know that you are very much not alone. And I think Genevieve Anderson, I mean, she really can speak to that from a personal place, which she will. Her journey to becoming a financial wellness and investing coach came from, her own need. And that, she has a deep, she's been working in the financial service industry for over 12 plus years. And in doing that, she's helped hundreds of clients, worked with many millionaires, and like I mentioned, has her own personal story of being on a financial roller coaster. So she knows herself best. So I'm going to have her, welcome Genevieve to the show, but also, Genevieve, I would love for you to give us a little more of your own background, how you got into what, this kind of coaching and,
Yeah.
What you do.
Yeah, sure thing. And thank you so much. I'm really so excited. Anytime somebody's like, come on and let's talk about money, I'm 100% in. So thanks again so much for having me. Yeah, so my story is a really good mix of professional and personal experience. So back, let's see, many years ago, I was going through a really hard time. I actually went through a very costly divorce. It was a really sour and terrible relationship. And when I got out of that, I was feeling mentally drained, physically drained, financially drained. And it was really hard. I felt very in a place of lack. I felt almost like jealous, right, of other people who are doing very well. And I felt like I'm never going to get myself out of this 30, 40, close to $50,000 hole that I was in. It was really tough. One day, I'm sitting at my desk, and at this point, I'm working in the private bank and I'm doing some good things here, right? I'm making a whole plan for these lovely couple who I know who are my clients. And it all of a sudden hit me, why can't I do this for me? Like, why am I not good enough to plan for my own future? And, things may be in a bit of despair, but we can get back on track. And so, really, that was a huge aha moment for me where I went from, hey, if I can do it for other people, I can do it for myself. And even though these people are millionaires and I'm not quite there yet, I'm going to use the same skills and the same tactics that I use with them as I do with me. And lo and hold, things really turned around. And I also attribute a lot of that to other things I did to be healthy, like get therapy, working with a trainer, eating a little healthier, right? All those little things. And that's why I really practice on financial wellness. I think it's not just a one size fit all. We have to address the whole being. And usually when you can work on yourself in other ways, financially, you lift yourself up, and a little bit of vice versa too. So when people become more confident financially, it's amazing the things that I see my clients do after working with them, and what they go on to do and how they're living their lives. And it really does all work together. So it's a little bit of my story. And after I stopped working with clients, I got a little bit, I started to miss them as I worked through my financial services career. And I started coaching about 2 years ago, and it really has become a big passion of mine. So I love doing it.
Amazing. And I'm so happy that you use the word holistic
Yes.
in your coaching, because I got a certificate in behavioral finance and financial psychology when I realized that in the Ladies Get Paid community, providing information
Yeah.
to people is not enough to actually get them
Nope.
to act on the information. How they
Yeah.
feel is going to either be the catalyst or the paralyzer, you know? So curious for you, mindsets, or maybe you tell me kind of where you want to start with somebody who is in a position of total financial anxiety.
Mhm.
Where do they begin?
Yeah, 100%. And I think almost my story is a very clear example of that. Here I am working in the finance industry. I know all the things, I have all the licenses, and yet it's really hard to take action. It's crazy when you think about it. So 100% mindset has to come first, right? And a lot of times I'll encourage people to look at what you are believing now, how it maybe comes from your past experiences, and understand like what behaviors and habits are maybe not serving you anymore, right? We all go through different roller coasters in life. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. We all come from different backgrounds and experiences. And when we take a moment to kind of pause and think about our beliefs, we sometimes will uncover that, hey, that served me when I was in this place in life, but that's not serving me right now. That may have served my parents, right? My parents maybe said, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. And now I think I can't afford it. That may have served them then, but that's not really serving me right now. So think about our really core beliefs and then almost challenge those thoughts, right? It really first starts with awareness and what we're thinking. Then once we're aware of it, we can start to have those tools to change it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And just for yourself or for any clients you've worked with, you feel comfortable sharing, do you have an example of like a profound kind of aha moment that happened when it came to uncovering this stuff?
Oh, I have a couple. I would say some of the biggest ones I've seen really are about investing. So I had a client earlier this year, and he knew that he was new dad, right? New mom, new dad, and he knew that he needed to start building wealth. He knows that like I need my money to grow, but he had his parents and maybe even an uncle like kind of, I don't want to say like goat him, but kind of like get him to invest in something that they thought was great. He lost a couple of $100 and he thought, I'm never doing that again. And nobody really in his past had talked about how to smartly invest in the stock market to grow our wealth, to build that long term income stream. And so he had this thing that was very much like, investing's a gamble, and it's a super common belief, but that's a really, pertinent example of a belief. It's just not serving you any longer. We got to challenge it and we got to be able to move forward and learn new skills. So not only is it learning the new skills, right? The information is only this half, but it's also kind of debunking this belief or this thought that we have that's no longer serving us. So that's,
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. What are some other financial, before we get into the nitty gritties of becoming your own financial
Yeah.
planner, which is probably going to be more of like the logistical stuff, the emotional, so the financial anxiety, you get to the core. Could we go through maybe some common mindsets or insecurities, anxieties that you've tended to see in the work that you've done?
Yep. So I'm actually working with two clients right now. It's funny because they're really in two different places of their life, but they have the same exact pattern. And the pattern is, I'm making enough money. I'm just not going to look at this right now. Right. I'm just going to kind of like pay the bills. I'm staying afloat. Right. And I don't want to really know. I can't really see what the bills are, what the debt is. I don't really want to know. And they kind of push it out of the mind. And then what happens is eventually we figure out, oh my gosh, I got to figure this out, right? There's maybe a catalyst, something changes in your life, and you think, I've got to get my, what together. And then you become a little bit overwhelmed because it goes from almost zero interaction with understanding your numbers and understanding your financial situation to trying to consume. It's almost like that drinking from a fire hose, right? Trying to consume all of this, understand it, a lot of us didn't grow up with a strong financial education. I think hopefully that's changing a little bit, but a lot of us were not in that place. So it feels very overwhelming. And then you compound that with looking at things and thinking, oh, did I make a mistake here? Right. And then you might feel some guilt. You might feel some shame. There are all of these emotions that pop up when we go from not looking at our situation to kind of having it hit in the face a little bit. And so, right now, as a coach, I really help walk my clients through this experience and help them mitigate a lot of that anxiety and emotions that are coming in. And we really do take it one step at a time. Oh, I can't hear you all of a sudden. I'm so sorry. Oh, no.
Huh, that was weird. Can you hear me
Okay,
now?
you're back.
Yeah,
Yes.
experience. Let me ask you something. Um, I, I just was curious. I was just saying, it drives me bonkers that there's no financial education
Oh,
in the
yes.
country, um, and that we're beholden to the mistakes that were made. The modeling that happened in our family. I mean, one of the things that I did during my master's certificate that was an assignment that I thought was really fascinating was interviewing my mom, about her relationship with money and, us reflecting on her parents and their, the influence of the Great Depression on them and just
Yeah.
how, generational baggage gets passed down. I mean, not just emotional, but financial. And I just thought it was so fascinating. And I'm sure that you have found that in your own work as well. Um,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm curious. Yeah, so for financial planning, let's maybe get into the logistics of that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're not recommending that people not seek help if and when they
No.
need. Yes.
No. What I speak about when kind of like building out your own financial plan, it comes with a couple of different steps. We talked about the mindset already. So, really, that's kind of step one. Step two is becoming very intimate with your own financial situation. So, not that you need to understand every $2 purchase, but you should know I kind of break it down into five different things. So, we want to know really, really well what is coming in,
Mhm,
what money is going out, what money we own, what money we owe, and then
mhm.
also what our credit looks like. So your credit score and what is understanding that, because that is a financial asset as well. And I encourage people to take this slow. So sometimes I'll have clients try to like look at this all in one day and it can be very, very overwhelming. And that's where a lot of those anxiety producing things come into play. So when I'm looking at clients or if I'm recommending to somebody who especially is feeling a little bit of those emotions come up, take those five things, break it down into 5 different weeks. Just try to tackle one a week. Do it at a time and in place where you're feeling a little bit calm and serene, right? Maybe you go to your favorite coffee shop or you're sitting in your lovely living room, wherever it might be, and have some grace with yourself. And then, kind of the third tip on that is looking at it from a point of view almost like it wasn't yours. Taking just a moment back and being really taking the judgment out of it, right? So almost looking at you were looking at somebody else's and being a little curious. What is the interest rate on that? Or when is this term up? Or where do I need to find this? Where are my accounts? Who am I dealing with? What are the fees? What are the rates? So be curious, kind of come at it almost like it was somebody else's and you're like looking for all the clues and trying to understand it. Yeah.
I love that. Do you have any apps or things you might recommend for people who are feeling overwhelmed? Like, I have so many different platforms, where do
Yes.
I aggregate all this information? And then also, do I once I collect it, do I put it somewhere?
Yeah. So I actually have a very simple spreadsheet. I'll link it up under this video so you guys can grab it. It's inside my 12-step money guide. I like starting with something simple and then moving to whatever app or application that you like. I personally like it's called Copilot. So you can find it copilot.money. It's what I personally use, and it makes things really easy. But I like when you're very first starting, get it on the paper. I promise you, it will help you feel like everything's in one place in a very simple format that you can read and feel confident making those decisions moving forward.
Awesome. Love it. And by the way, Genevieve is going to be posting these links in the Ladies Get Paid LinkedIn page. So if you're watching on any of our other platforms, come on over. And she'll be doing that underneath this recording on that platform. Okay. So now I've looked, I've gotten the lay of the land. I love that you've broken it down into, not doing it all at once, but I look at it and I go, all right, there's a lot to tackle here.
There's all the things.
What do you tackle first? And I'm imagining the big question you always get is, do I tackle my debt first? But what about savings? That always seems like it gets put in the back. I shouldn't.
Yep. I was just talking to somebody about this earlier today. It was actually my mom. She goes, "What do people come in? What do they ask you about?" She's like, "What are their biggest problems?" Gotta love moms. And I said, really, it's that trying to prioritize your goals. So this is where, again, you might want to take that step back and you want to understand what your particular why is. What is your motivating factor? And it's going to be very different for everyone. And I also remind people, look at it from what do you want? Get away from the shoulds, right? Get away from the shoulds, the coulds. Don't look at what the friends doing, the neighbors, even your parents. Sorry, parents, but get away from the shoulds. Because a lot of people come in, they say, well, I want to invest because I feel like I should be. Or I want to buy a house because I feel like I should be buying a house, or whatever that thing is, right? My neighbor's got this. I really want this too. So kind of take a step back and understand, what do you want your life to look like? What is giving you the most stress, right? When you go to sleep, or if you're kind of up thinking in the middle of the night, what is that one thing or maybe two things that is really giving you the pressure on the shoulders? What is physically kind of triggering you? Focus on that. And I no more than two. Focus on two. You can, when it comes to investing, when it comes to savings, it's really all going to be individualized. I don't mind if people are working on both at one time, but you're almost going to have think of it like a major and a minor, right? So you're going to be focusing really on one, but you can still I don't mind if people put, even if you start $10, $20 a week to start investing, and then once you learn more, you can increase that. Or once you have a little bit more savings under your belt, you can learn more and increase that. That's all fine. But think of it as a major and then a minor. And it's really going to depend on the person.
Okay.
Yes, I know. It's so hard to say it depends, but that, why is personal finance personal? And that's it for sure.
I think that's great. Maybe let's dig into the investing piece a little bit more, since that's a big specialty of yours. And it was a blocker that you saw it with your client, but also I've seen it with myself, in terms of looking at it as it's too risky, but that's because I wasn't educated on what a mutual fund was. It's not gambling. And also that I actually maybe had more money than I realized. I was still living in a very much of a scarcity mindset. So talk to me, whether you want to focus on the mindset and or the logistics of 101 investing.
I'll give kind of some quick things to look at, right? So when we start investing, general rules of thumb, right? Again, everybody's going to be very, very different. But start with maybe the accounts that you already have. So if you are working that 9 to 5 and you have a 401k, start there. That's a great, usually most 401ks, they're all not made equal, right? Some are better than others, but it's a good place to start. Usually they have a limited number of funds. Understand, take a look at some of the funds, and just maybe you're not going to understand everything. That's okay. Google some words. It's going to be all right. A lot of investing is just learning the jargon and learning the language, because a lot of investment specialists make a lot of money off of people not understanding the jargon. So learn a little bit of the jargon. uncover some of those accounts, look at the fees. If you're looking at this and you're like, I don't know where the fees are, they're called expense ratios, and you can find them usually in the small print if you pull up a fund summary, and look for those lower fees. And that's a great place to start, is like an account that you already have. So if you're really like feeling like I have to go out and do lots of new things, if you have something currently, start there, and then you can like work your way out and work your way up. So that's a good way to start. But yeah, in a short amount of time, that's your first two actionable items.
Amazing. I want to read some really impressive stuff off of your bio, your personal bio. So you said you were able to pay off over $35,000 in debt, increase your net worth by $250,000, increase your income by 45%, and purchase 2 rental properties in only 6 years. I mean, I know you've dropped already some great tips that speak to how you did that and how somebody else can, emulate. But what have we not yet covered that you did? Because I mean, anyone listening to that is like, how?
Yes.
Me, I want that. So
yeah. So I would say the first thing that I started with, right? I started with that moment where I was like, oh no, I got to do something. So I put everything on paper. I did all the things that we actually just talked about. I've got really clear on where I was. And what I found was, oof, my income is really close to my expenses. I only have really a couple $100 at the end of the month to either save and pay down debt. And that is not a lot. So my first task was increasing my income. So what I did, I got a little bit creative and I got a roommate, right? I had a single family home and I was able to essentially house hack. And I did that for about 3 to 4 years. It paid for the most of my, housing cost. And then I was able to use that money to pay down that debt, to start saving, to invest more. I finished my MBA, so I got that done. That's where some of the debt came from. And I leveraged my MBA to then get a raise. And I was happy enough to sell my house. And that also generated some funds to buy new houses. So again, kind of that living under your means, increasing your income if you need to, figuring out creative ways. Sometimes a short-term sacrifice can really get you far ahead. During those days, during those 3 years, I went on a couple of trips. I did a couple of nice things, but I really was very mindful of scaling back just a little bit because I knew that I needed to like get this debt down. I knew that I needed to really start invest heavily. And those types of sacrifices can really put you far ahead. So don't be afraid to like do something different and make a big move. You can always go backwards, right? So if your housing costs are crazy, and I know that's sometimes avoidable and many times it's not, unfortunately, in today's market, but if you have an opportunity to make a move like that and generate even $300, $400, $500 a month, wow, do that for a year and you'd be surprised of how far you can get. Yeah.
Fantastic. But I also love that you mentioned increasing your income as well. So it's not just about the sacrifices, but it's also making more money.
Exactly. Yeah. I always say there's 2 skills in finance and you can divide them up, right? There's making money and there's managing money. And you kind of need to have a little bit of both to eventually grow. It's going to kind of ebb and flow, right? You can definitely manage money without making a ton of money, but if you can make a ton of money and learn how to manage it, you're really on the right track. So figuring out that way to increase your income, even by the littles, can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I know today we're not talking, or we weren't set to specifically talk about rental properties, but given that that was a way that you increased your income, curious, any recommendations do you have for people who might consider that a potential?
Yeah. So definitely owning real estate is not a prerequisite to wealth, right? You don't have to do that. However, I always say if you like real estate, right? If you're a Zillow tracker, you like people, you like teamwork, then real estate might be for you. It could be. Not going to be for everybody, but it could be for you. So, we personally, I'll just tell you my experience, and because it's not going to be for everybody, but with our experience, we bought something locally. So we were very close to it. We bought well under our means, right? So we had some extra wiggle room, because you definitely don't know when you go into rental property. You can predict all you want, but sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. And we self manage. We are in the process actually of looking to offhand that to somebody else to get a property manager. But we have been self managing for 2.5 years now,
Mhm.
and it's hard. You will make mistakes. It's not always easy, but you learn so much. The amount of information I know now from 2 years ago is just crazy. So you kind of learn by doing. And then when you go to hire that person to maybe help you out, you're going to have a lot of better knowledge. If you are looking to get into it, you have to get real estate as a team sport, right? So my recommendation is to get recommendations for really your real estate agent, for even your accountant, right? Handyman, all of the people that you need around you. Just make sure they're good quality people, because your real estate experience is dependent usually on your inspector, right? Like all of these different roles that go into buying and managing. It's a lot. So just make sure the people that you're working with, you have a good team. And if you have a good team, then they're going to make that job just that much easier for you.
How do you evaluate? I was going to ask, how do you evaluate a property, but I think I actually want to back it up and say, what are some questions that one should ask themselves before they decide that this is an additional revenue stream that is worth pursuing?
Yeah. So for me, I wanted to make sure I had a pretty good investment nest egg before I diversified into real estate. So I made sure that, I think at that point in time, even if I hadn't invested in another penny, I'd still be retiring like a millionaire. Like my investments are my main source of income in retirement. And that needs to, for me, I wanted that to be pretty much set.
Yeah.
I think the other thing was knowing that in real estate, you're probably going to make an investment, but you may not make money that first year, right? So making sure that you're almost thinking about it like your traditional investments, right? Like knowing that it's going to be a long-term investment and it may not cash flow that first year. So maybe feeling not dependent on that, having that emergency fund in place is crucial for that peace of mind. I remember specific moment where in the second property that we bought, which is actually an Airbnb, so it's a short-term rental, which is a whole nother. I didn't know how different it would be. So yeah, there's many different avenues there. And I remember feeling like I was bleeding money, spending money on every single thing. And I almost got into tears. And I looked at my boyfriend, we're broke. We're broke. We have no, and he's like, we have an emergency fund. Like he's like, we have investments. Get that scarcity mindset out. We're gonna be okay. So making sure you have those safety nets under you before you take on a big project like that will just make you not only feel better, but it's going to be a smarter investment for the long term.
Amazing. Well, now
Yeah.
you can add to your portfolio in terms of the curriculum that you teach or guide people on.
Yes, I do have a couple. I always say I'm surely not any sort of real estate expert. I don't consider that my primary expertise, but I'm always happy to share my experience, and I can usually get clients in the right direction, or at least over the first couple of steps, if that's something that they're interested in. So I love talking to people about real estate.
Yeah.
Very
But
quickly.
then, people oftentimes are looking for the answers, but don't realize that first you have to know the questions to ask.
Yeah.
And there's so many things you don't even know. You don't know, you don't know, right? So it's like, what do you even consider? What are factors?
Yeah.
Um, Time, how much time is this all going to take? Things like that. Um, Speaking of time, I realize we're technically at time. So I would love
Oh, wow, that went fast.
ask, because there's so much to talk about. So any final words of wisdom, and then share how people can connect with you.
Let's see. Final words of wisdom: start small, but start, right? So, with that fear, maybe you have a goal of investing $100 million, $100,000, right? It all starts with $1 or $2. So go ahead and get started. You're going to make mistakes along the way. Forgive yourself. It's all a journey, but we got to get started on some point. So, and I'm always happy to help if somebody's wondering, what is that very next thing I need to do? Reach out to me. Happy to help.
How can people find you, follow you, and most importantly, pay you?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is at holistic.personal.finance. Again, I'll link that up and I'll link up the website. If you want that 12-step money guide, that's going to be in link in bio, and you can find all of my services there.
Fabulous. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Genevieve. I super appreciate you and your transparency and that you've used your own personal story to help others. And like I said, for everybody watching on other platforms that are not LinkedIn, come on over to the Ladies Get Paid LinkedIn. You can connect with us and, of course, Genevieve directly. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Claire Wasserman, and I'm also on Instagram at Claire Gets Paid. ladiesgetpaid.com/subscribe for our newsletter where you get invites to events like this. Many of them are free, plus other amazing tips and, of course, our awesome community. Thanks again, Genevieve. Super appreciate you.
Thank you, Claire. This was so much fun. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
Now go get paid.
Bye-bye.